Think the 90s was just about blockbusters and rom-coms? Think again. Beneath the noise of dinosaurs, hackers, and high school makeovers, a quieter revolution was happening. Films that didn't make the box office splash, but carved a lasting mark in the hearts of cinephiles. Today we're diving deep into 15 forgotten classics of the 1990s that still shine brilliantly, if you know where to look. Let's rediscover them together. Lone Star, 1996. In the scorching Texas borderlands, a sheriff stumbles upon a decades-old skeleton and uncovers generations of corruption, love, and betrayal. John Sayles directs this sprawling neo-western with surgical precision, weaving past and present into one hypnotic narrative. Chris Cooper delivers a quietly devastating performance, while Elizabeth Pena's presence burns with unresolved longing. What makes Lone Star so remarkable is Sayles' ability to shift between timelines without conventional flashbacks. Instead, he uses elegant camera pans that transform the present into the past, suggesting that history isn't behind us. It's right here, always affecting our lives. The film unfolds like a multi-generational novel, exploring racial tensions, forbidden love, and small-town politics with rare intelligence. Despite earning critical acclaim and a Screenplay Oscar nomination, Lone Star remained criminally underseen. Sayles, known for independent darlings like Matewan, created a deeply American film that questions the myth of the frontier. Its budget was modest, just under $5 million, but it captured a cultural complexity that many big-budget films couldn't touch. The cinematography by Stuart Dryburgh creates a distinctive visual language. Dusty, sun-baked exteriors contrast with neon-lit bars where secrets fester and memories haunt. The supporting cast, including Chris Christopherson as a corrupt sheriff and Matthew McConaughey in an early role, adds texture to this richly populated world. Today, Lone Star is praised for its layered storytelling and unflinching honesty about race, heritage, and memory. Its examination of how communities construct narratives about their past feels more relevant than ever in our era of historical reckoning. If you're looking for a mystery that doesn't just ask who done it, but why we forget, this film is pure gold. The Sweet Hereafter, 1997. A school bus crashes in a snowy Canadian town. The aftermath? A lawyer arrives, seeking justice. Or is it vengeance cloaked in virtue? Adam Egoyan's haunting adaptation of Russell Banks's novel is not about the accident, but what grief reveals in those left behind. Ian Holm leads a cast of shatteringly real performances. His lawyer, both empathetic and manipulative. The film's nonlinear structure mirrors the fractured nature of trauma itself. We see before, during, and after the tragedy, but Egoyan weaves these moments together with such delicate craftsmanship that the emotional impact builds gradually, devastatingly. The town becomes a character, isolated, beautiful, and increasingly claustrophobic as buried tensions rise to the surface. With a modest $5 million budget and a quiet festival release, the film made waves internationally, winning the Grand Prix at Cannes. The stark cinematography by Paul Sarosi captures the blinding whiteness of winter landscapes that seem to swallow the characters whole. Michael Dana's score, built around folk musician Veda Hilla's adaptation of The Pied Piper of Hamelin, creates a haunting fairy tale quality that underscores the film's themes of lost children and communal failure. Sarah Polley delivers a breakthrough performance as Nicole, a survivor whose testimony becomes the moral fulcrum of the film. Her recitation of The Pied Piper is one of cinema's most quietly devastating moments, poetry used as both shield and weapon. Though often overshadowed by more commercial dramas, The Sweet Hereafter remains one of the most poignant meditations on loss, community, and broken faith in cinema history. It asks difficult questions about healing. Is it always possible? Is it always right? Trust me, this one will echo long after the credits roll. The Last Seduction, 1994. She didn't just steal money, she stole the movie. Linda Fiorentino's femme fatale in The Last Seduction is razor-sharp, unapologetically manipulative, and thrilling to watch. Directed by John Dahl, this noir gem is a masterclass in seductive danger. Bridget Gregory isn't your typical noir protagonist. While classic femme fatale used sexuality as a weapon, Bridget wields raw intelligence, always 3 steps ahead of everyone else. The script, penned by Steve Baranczyk, crackles with vicious wit and surprising turns. When Bridget flees New York with her husband's drug money and lands in a small town, she finds her next mark. But the game becomes increasingly complex. Initially released on HBO before a brief theatrical run, it was disqualified from Oscar consideration, despite Fiorentino's jaw-dropping performance. Bill Pullman plays the snake of a husband, and Peter Berg the pawn, but Fiorentino owns every frame. Her Bridget is calculating yet spontaneous, seductive yet almost clinically detached. It's a character study of a woman who refuses victimhood at any cost. The cinematography embraces noir aesthetics with modern sensibilities. Shadows and Venetian blinds mix with harsh fluorescence and dusty sunlight. The film's economy is impressive. No wasted scene, no extraneous character, just lean, mean storytelling that builds to a knockout conclusion. Critics adored it, but without a full studio push, it never broke through to the mainstream. Over time, it developed a cult following and became a textbook for neo-noir characterization. Today it feels even more radical, a female anti-hero who writes her own rules and wins without punishment or redemption. If you thought noir was dead in the 90s, think again. King of the Hill, 1993. Before Ocean's 11, Steven Soderbergh told a very different story, a Depression-era coming-of-age tale that feels like it stepped out of faded family photographs. King of the Hill follows young Aaron as he navigates poverty, loneliness, and the strange adults who drift in and out of his life in a St. Louis hotel. What distinguishes Soderbergh's approach is his refusal to sentimentalize childhood or poverty. The film's palette shifts subtly as Aaron's circumstances change. Warm golds and ambers give way to cooler blues as times get harder. We experience his hunger, his resourcefulness, his humiliations, and small triumphs with intimate immediacy. Based on A.E. Hotchner's memoir, this gentle film features early performances from Jesse Bradford and Adrian Brody. Bradford carries the film with remarkable maturity, showing how quickly children can adapt to adult responsibilities. The supporting cast, including Jeroen Krabbe as Aaron's well-meaning but unreliable father and Lisa Eichhorn as his institutionalized mother, creates a world where adults are just as vulnerable and lost as children. The period details are meticulously rendered on a modest budget. From the whispers of radio programs to the textures of worn clothing, Soderbergh creates a lived-in world that speaks to both historical specificity and timeless emotional truths about childhood resilience. It didn't make much noise at the box office, barely cracking 1.5 million, but it cemented Soderbergh's range as a storyteller. Over the years, it has gained quiet admiration from critics and filmmakers alike. If you love nuanced storytelling that balances innocence and melancholy, this hidden treasure is waiting for you. Devil in a Blue Dress, 1995. Post-war Los Angeles, a missing woman, a black man framed. Devil in a Blue Dress blends noir, racial politics, and Denzel Washington at his peak. Based on Walter Mosley's novel, Carl Franklin directs with pulpy precision and social depth. What sets this film apart from conventional noir is its unflinching portrayal of racial dynamics in 1948 Los Angeles. Easy Rawlins, played with simmering intelligence by Washington, navigates a world where crossing invisible racial boundaries can be deadly. When he's hired to find a missing white woman who frequents black jazz clubs, the mystery becomes a journey through a segregated city's power structures. Washington plays Easy Rawlins, a World War II vet turned reluctant detective. But it's Don Cheadle as Mouse who steals scenes with ferocious energy, a dangerous friend whose violent tendencies both help and threaten Easy's investigation. Jennifer Beals brings complexity to the femme fatale role, subverting expectations at every turn. Tak Fujimoto's cinematography bathes the film in golden hour light and deep shadows, while Elmer Bernstein's jazz-infused score perfectly captures both the period and the tension. The production design meticulously recreates post-war LA, from the segregated neighborhoods to the bustling Central Avenue jazz scene, creating a world that feels authentic and lived in. Despite rich performances and a sultry visual palette, the film underperformed. barely earning back its $22 million budget. Critics praised its innovative take on noir conventions, but audiences in 1995 weren't ready for its unflinching racial politics. It was ahead of its time, and perhaps that's why it struggled commercially. Today it's a cornerstone of black noir and an essential counterpoint to white-dominated detective stories. This isn't just a mystery, it's a reckoning with America's racial history that still resonates powerfully. A Midnight Clear, 1992. World War II. Stories often paint with broad strokes. A Midnight Clear dares to be intimate. Set in the Ardennes just before the Battle of the Bulge, a group of American soldiers discover a German unit that wants to surrender. What follows is a haunting dance of humanity and tragedy. Based on William Wharton's autobiographical novel, the film focuses on a squad of intelligence officers, all with IQs over 150, sent to occupy an abandoned chateau near the German lines. Their youth and intelligence make them more vulnerable to war's moral complexities, not less. When they realize the German soldiers they're tracking want to surrender without shame, a fragile trust develops across enemy lines. Keith Gordon directs with aching sensitivity, capturing war's absurdity through poetic visuals. Snow-covered forests become both beautiful and menacing, silence more terrifying than gunfire. The cast, Ethan Hawke, Gary Sinise, Peter Berg, Kevin Dillon, and Frank Whaley, gives understated, heartbreaking performances. Each character brings a different perspective to the moral dilemmas they face. The film's most powerful scenes involve the tentative communication between enemies, snowball fights replacing bullets, Christmas carols sung in different languages but with shared meaning. These moments of connection make the inevitable tragedy all the more devastating. The film flopped financially, earning less than $2 million, but critics praised its restraint and empathy, and it has quietly endured as one of the most unique war films ever made. Its anti-war message comes not from grand statements, but from showing the absurd waste of young lives on both sides. If you're tired of chest-beating combat tales, this one whispers truths that still pierce. It's a winter fable about war's darkest paradox, how humanity persists even as it's systematically destroyed. Smoke, 1995. In Brooklyn, at a corner cigar shop, 1,000 stories pass through the haze. Wayne Wang's Smoke, written by novelist Paul Auster, is a slice-of-life drama that revels in small, beautiful moments. Harvey Keitel plays the shopkeeper, and William Hurt, the grieving writer who finds unlikely companionship there. The film's structure mirrors the act of smoking itself, unhurried, contemplative, built around ritual and sharing. 5 interconnected stories unfold, each revealing how strangers become essential parts of each other's lives. The Brooklyn Cigar Comer becomes a secular church where confession, redemption, and community happen over tobacco and conversation. Shot on a shoestring budget, the film is a masterclass in dialogue and character. It didn't break box office records, but it won the hearts of critics and festival audiences. Wang directs with a delicate touch, allowing scenes to breathe and characters to reveal themselves gradually. There's no manufactured conflict, just the gentle collision of lives in an urban landscape. The ensemble cast, including Forrest Whitaker, Stockard Channing, and Harold Perrineau, creates a tapestry of New York life that feels authentic and warmly observed. But it's Keitel's Augie Wren who anchors the film. His daily ritual, photographing the same street corner at the same time every morning for years, becomes a powerful metaphor for how meaning emerges from attention to life's patterns. Its charm lies in the humanity of its details: a photograph, a story, a chance encounter. The film's final segment, where Augie tells a Christmas story about truth, lies, and kindness, ranks among the most perfect endings in 90s cinema. If Tarantino made violence feel poetic, Smoke makes stillness sing. An ode to storytelling itself. Safe, 1995. What if your environment is killing you and no one believes you? Todd Haynes' chilling Safe stars. Julianne Moore as a housewife who develops mysterious sensitivities to everyday chemicals. Set in sterile, affluent 1987 San Fernando Valley, the film is both a psychological horror story and a devastating critique of modern life. Moore's Carol White lives in a world of surfaces, her immaculate home, her emotionless marriage, her aerobics classes. When she begins experiencing unexplained symptoms, nosebleeds, seizures, shortness of breath, doctors find nothing wrong. Is it environmental illness, as she comes to believe, or something deeper? An allergic reaction to her own empty existence? What begins as a domestic drama becomes a nightmarish descent into isolation and cult-like self-help groups. Moore's performance is so subtly devastating, it almost disappears under your skin. She physically transforms, her voice growing weaker, her presence more ghost-like, as Carol desperately seeks healing. Haynes directs with clinical precision. His camera keeps Carol at a distance, often framing her behind windows, doorways, and car windshields, trapped within her privileged but suffocating world. The production design creates environments that appear beautiful but feel increasingly toxic, mirroring Carol's psychological state. The film earned less than $600,000 in its initial run. Yet, over time, Safe has been reevaluated as a prophetic masterpiece about environmental anxiety, chronic illness, and societal denial. Its critique of self-help culture feels more relevant than ever in our wellness-obsessed era. It's horror, but not the kind you can scream your way out of. Instead, it's the creeping dread that perhaps our entire way of life is fundamentally unsustainable. The Apostle, 1997. Robert Duvall wrote, directed, and starred in this thunderous character study of a fallen Pentecostal preacher seeking redemption in the Deep South. The Apostle is all fire and sweat and spiritual desperation, a film that explores faith with rare authenticity. Duvall plays Sonny, a charismatic preacher who, in a moment of rage, commits a violent act and flees his Texas home. Reinventing himself as the Apostle E.F. in a Louisiana town, he builds a new congregation while wrestling with his sins. What makes the film extraordinary is its refusal to judge. Sonny is neither villain nor saint. He's a man of genuine faith and genuine flaws, searching for grace while unable to fully escape his nature. Shot on a shoestring with Duvall's own money, it took nearly a decade to get made. Studios balked at a film centered on Southern evangelical Christianity that neither mocked nor sanitized its subject. But Duvall's persistence paid off. He created one of the most nuanced portraits of American religious life ever captured on film. The supporting cast, including Farrah Fawcett and Miranda Richardson, is excellent. But it's the non-professional actors, real preachers and church members, who give the film its authentic spiritual power. The church scenes pulse with genuine religious fervor, the kind rarely captured in Hollywood productions. It only made $21 million, but for a film without studio backing, that's a small miracle. Duvall was nominated for Best Actor, and his raw performance still resonates like a gospel sermon echoing down a dirt road. For anyone interested in the complexities of faith, redemption, and the human capacity for both destruction and creation, The Apostle is essential viewing. A Perfect World, 1993. Clint Eastwood directs Kevin Costner in what may be the most soulful performance of his career. Costner plays Butch Haynes, an escaped convict who bonds with a young boy he takes hostage, forming a tender surrogate father-son relationship. Meanwhile, Eastwood himself plays the Texas Ranger in pursuit, creating a complex moral triangle as the manhunt unfolds. Set against the backdrop of 1960s Texas, just before the Kennedy assassination, the film unfolds with lyrical grace, balancing suspense and deep character work. T.J. Lowther gives one of cinema's most natural child performances as Philip, a Jehovah's Witness boy who's never celebrated Halloween or experienced the small freedoms of childhood. Their road trip becomes both escape and awakening. What elevates A Perfect World above conventional manhunt thrillers is its emotional intelligence. The script by John Lee Hancock explores how cycles of violence and absent fathers shape masculinity across generations. Costner's Butch, dangerous yet tender, damaged yet protective, breaks your heart precisely because you can see both the wounded child he was and the good man he might have been. Jack Green's cinematography captures the Texas landscape with dusty autumnal beauty, while Lenny Nyhaus's sparse score underscores the film's melancholy tone. Despite Eastwood's involvement, it flew under the radar in the U.S., overshadowed by more commercial fare like Jurassic Park and Mrs. Doubtfire, released the same year. With time, critics have revisited A Perfect World as one of Eastwood's most underrated directorial achievements. It's a road movie, a morality play, and an elegy all in one, a film that understands how brief moments of connection can offer redemption, even when escape is impossible. The Ice Storm, 1997. Ang Lee's portrait of suburban malaise in 1970s. Connecticut might sound chilly, but it cuts with scalpel precision. Kevin Kline, Joan Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and a young Tobey Maguire form an ensemble where every silence says more than words. Set during Thanksgiving weekend 1973, as the Watergate scandal unfolds on television, The Ice Storm explores two neighboring families whose sexual experimentation and emotional disconnection mirror the national mood. The parents attend a key party, a spouse-swapping event, while their children navigate their own sexual awakenings with equal parts curiosity and emptiness. Adapted from Rick Moody's novel, this was no crowd pleaser, but it earned critical raves and won Best Screenplay at Cannes. James Schamus's adaptation distills the novel's literary voice into visual poetry, creating a film where objects, a metal ice tray, a Nixon mask, a toy figure, carry tremendous emotional weight. Frederick Elmes's cinematography uses the cold, clear light of winter to expose the character's emotional barrenness. The production design recreates 1970s affluence with anthropological precision, from macrame plant holders to wood-paneled station wagons. The period details never feel like nostalgia, but rather like artifacts from a failed experiment in American life. The young cast, including Christina Ricci, Elijah Wood, and Katie Holmes, deliver performances of remarkable maturity, capturing how children absorb their parents' dysfunction even while judging it. Today, The Ice Storm is praised for its emotionally bruising honesty and stylized restraint. Its famous climax, where tragedy arrives with the weather, remains one of cinema's most perfectly executed sequences of cause, effect, and terrible coincidence. It's not warm, but it's unforgettable. Affliction, 1997. A small-town cop, a dead body, and a lifetime of trauma. Paul Schrader's Affliction is as dark and brooding as anything he's ever written. Based on Russell Banks's novel, it's a winter's tale of how violence passes from father to son like a terrible inheritance. Wade Whitehouse is barely holding on, to his job as a small-town sheriff, to his relationship with his daughter, to his sobriety, to his sanity. When a hunting accident claims the life of a wealthy businessman, Wade sees a chance at redemption through solving what he believes is murder. But his obsession spirals, fueled by memories of his abusive father and his own bottled rage. Nolte gives the performance of his life, tortured, hollowed out, unraveling. His physical transformation throughout the film is haunting. A toothache becomes both plot point and metaphor, his face increasingly swollen as infection spreads both literally and spiritually. Coburn won an Oscar for playing his monstrous father, a performance so terrifying in its authenticity that it's almost unwatchable. Schrader directs with controlled fury, using the brutal New Hampshire winter as expression of Wade's inner landscape. The cinematography by Paul Sarasi captures both the stark beauty and oppressive weight of snow-covered small-town life. The film only grossed around $6 million, but it's pure character-driven cinema at its bleak best. Willem Dafoe provides the narrative voice as Wade's brother, who has escaped their father's influence but remains haunted by Wade's fate. If you want a thriller that's more Greek tragedy than police procedural, Affliction delivers, with bruising emotional honesty and not a single false note. The Butcher Boy, 1997. Neil Jordan's twisted coming-of-age tale about a disturbed Irish boy is part satire, part horror, part psychological portrait. Eamon Owens gives a disturbingly brilliant performance as Francie Brady, a 12-year-old whose reality fragments as his family disintegrates in small-town 1960s Ireland. Based on Patrick McCabe's novel, the film balances comic exuberance with genuine horror. Francie's voiceover, chatty, profane, increasingly unhinged, guides us through his perspective as he processes his mother's suicide, his father's alcoholism, and his own escalating behavior. Jordan's masterstroke is maintaining Francie's point of view while allowing viewers to see the tragedy unfolding around and within him. The tone swings wildly, from absurdist comedy to devastating tragedy, but Jordan never loses control. Surreal touches, including Sinead O'Connor appearing as the Virgin Mary in recurring visions, blend with kitchen sink realism. The film's vibrant color palette and energetic camera work contrast with its increasingly dark subject matter, creating a uniquely unsettling experience. Stephen Rea gives a heartbreaking performance as Francie's father, while Fiona Shaw is deliciously villainous as Mrs. Nugent, the neighbor whose condescension triggers Francie's worst impulses. The period details of small-town Ireland during the Cuban Missile Crisis backdrop add another layer, Cold War paranoia filtering down to a child's imagination. Though barely known in the U.S., the film swept Irish awards and is now seen as a fearless look into mental illness, family trauma, and fantasy as escape. It asks uncomfortable questions about how society fails troubled children and the thin line between vivid imagination and psychosis. Daring, disturbing, and weirdly tender. The Butcher Boy offers no easy answers, just unforgettable cinema. Red Rock West, 1993. Before Fargo made quirky noir fashionable, there was Red Rock West. Nicolas Cage stars as Michael, a down-on-his-luck drifter who rolls into a Wyoming town and is mistaken for the hitman hired to kill a local bar owner's wife. When the real hitman shows up, Michael finds himself trapped in an increasingly dangerous web of mistaken identity. Directed by John Dahl, this neo-noir thriller was shelved in the U.S. before finding cult life overseas. It didn't even get a proper theatrical release at first. It was slated to go straight to video until a San Francisco theater owner saw it on cable, recognized its quality, and began screening it to enthusiastic audiences. What distinguishes Red Rock West from standard thriller fare is its perfect balance of tension and dark humor. The script by John and Rick Dahl creates a series of escalating predicaments that feel both surprising and inevitable. Cage's performance is grounded and sympathetic, a good man making increasingly desperate choices as his situation deteriorates. The supporting cast shines, J.T. Walsh as the duplicitous bar owner, Dennis Hopper gleefully menacing as the real hitman, and Lara Flynn Boyle bringing complexity to the femme fatale role. Rocky Giordani's cinematography captures both the vast, empty beauty of the Wyoming landscape and the claustrophobic interiors where much of the action unfolds. Today, fans hail it as one of Cage's most restrained and best performances, and a near-perfect genre exercise. If you like your noir, sunburned, and off-kilter, don't skip this American gem that had to travel to Europe to be recognized as the classic it is. The War Zone, 1999. Tim Roth's directorial debut is not an easy watch, but it is an essential one. This stark British drama about a teenager uncovering abuse within his family is raw, unsettling, and brilliantly acted. Based on Alexander Stewart's novel, the film approaches its difficult subject matter with unflinching honesty and deep compassion. The story follows a London family that relocates to rural Devon. 15-year-old Tom struggles with isolation until he discovers a horrifying secret involving his father and his older sister. What follows is not a conventional drama of exposure and justice, but a complex exploration of how families accommodate monstrosity and the devastating courage required to break silence. Tilda Swinton and Ray Winstone are terrifyingly human in roles that feel almost too real. Newcomers Cunliffe and Belmont deliver performances of astonishing vulnerability. Roth directs with compassion and unflinching honesty, never exploiting the subject matter for shock value while refusing to look away from painful truths. Seamus McGarvey's cinematography captures the bleak beauty of the Devon coastline. Massive, impassive cliffs and a cold, gray sea become powerful metaphors for the family's isolation and the vastness of their pain. The sparse soundtrack and deliberate pacing create an atmosphere of mounting dread and emotional authenticity. It barely registered at the box office, but critics hailed it as a fearless debut. Roth avoids every cliché of the abuse drama, creating instead a work of such emotional honesty that it's both difficult to watch and impossible to forget. Even today, it remains a powerful indictment of silence and complicity. Not for the faint of heart, but unforgettable once seen. So, if you love uncovering forgotten classics, don't stop here. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and drop a comment with your favorite hidden gem from the 90s or any era. This is Golden Age Classics, and we're just getting started on this journey into film's most overlooked treasures. Until next time, keep those reels turning and those hearts open.